All right, coming off of Piestewa Peak, if you watched the last video, and now we're going to head to a Supercharger, and I'm heading there for a specific reason because last time I headed to the Supercharger, it tried parking it's a back-end Supercharger, and it tried parking there, and it kind of parked very poorly where the lines of the dividers of each parking spot was in the middle of the vehicle, so it obviously didn't park correctly. So I'm very curious now to see if it is going to do better, because sometimes it's able to actually park in the spot correctly just all on its own without having to do the auto park. Other times it's does what I just described it doesn't do correctly. So let's hold down supervised here, first FSD, and right off the bat there was a car coming on the left here, and the car saw that, so it waited for the car to go, and now that it's gone, we're going to start moving. Now there's a little bit, they kind of had a bit of stopping right there, and the car saw that, so we're kind of creeping our way out of here. We got 3 pedestrians on the right, so the car is going to do its best to go right around them, no problem whatsoever. Don't want to take out any hikers on the trail here, but again, with full self-driving, you just don't really have to deal with that. It's extremely cautious around people, and before it hit 13.2.2, it was so hesitant around people to the point where the car would stop short and it would kind of force you forward. It was just a really abrupt stop. Now it's not as cautious around people to the point where it's being overly cautious. Now we're dealing with, okay, I see the pedestrian there, I'm going to go around them, and you know, it just handles it like a champ. We run around those 3 people as soon as the trip started, no problem whatsoever. It's just been doing really well with that. Again, very human-like. It has to be as human-like as possible in order to be able to, you know, function with human drivers on the road. Because it's going to be a real long time, I mean, maybe not a real long time, but a decent amount of time before, you know, most people start kind of going towards the autonomous subscription, as I was talking about, where people aren't even going to bother owning a car anymore. They're just going to pay a monthly subscription to get unlimited rides from the Cybercab network. Got another guy walking over here. Car just went right around him. You saw it didn't stop short. It wasn't getting crazy and timid like it used to do. It just passed him like nothing, but it was still very aware that he was there. That's definitely something that has to happen, because you can't have the car stopping short all the time. Now it is stopping short here because there is no kind of bike lane or sidewalk here, and we had a group of people just kind of coming through there. It's not really good about seeing the bumps yet. That you probably saw that in the video right now. It's not too good at that yet, but as time goes on and the updates come out that allow the vehicle to be more cautious around those, it's going to get far better at that. But till then, when it comes to a dip or a bump, the bumps it sees a little bit more often, not like that previous moment ago, but it definitely sees the bumps more often. It's definitely the dips that it's a more rare occasion for the car to be able to see that. But again, in time, because of how much this vehicle can see and how good it is at being able to, you know, see things, and I've seen them do tests. There's a new video on Tesla's YouTube channel that shows it going around cones and being able to see things in the road. They even had another Tesla in front of it, someone in the front throwing a cone out the window, and the car being able to see it in that split moment and you know, take the appropriate actions to slow down and go around it. So it's really getting good with that. Just watching what the car is able to do just in that safety video on Tesla's official YouTube channel, and I imagine it's on the website too, but much easier to access it on the YouTube channel. Just being able to see what the car is able to do in terms of all these scenarios and all these other things, it's just astonishing. Anything from stopping at like 70-ish miles an hour, coming to a good stop that doesn't really jerk you too much forward, to dealing with children crossing and everything, the road. So overall, I mean, it's getting really, really advanced. Really, really advanced. And again, if you watched the last video that came before this one, heading up to the hiking trail that I just came from, I just like in this video, I'm just talking to y'all. I'm talking to y'all the whole time because I just don't need to do anything. I'm not going too crazy. The only thing I'm doing is that in order to get the attention monitoring away, because it starts to complain to me because I kind of look at the screen a lot, and through the camera it's able to see that, I'll scroll the wheel just to get that warning flash, that blue warning flash to go away. But other than that, I'm not really doing a lot. And this is interesting too. This is a thing here in Arizona where they have these lights that turn yellow and then they turn red and they blink red to distinguish someone's crossing. And the car handled that beautifully. It waited for the lights to turn flashing red, and it proceeded with caution. And it even continued to proceed with more caution, as you saw there maybe, and then it went on through. So I'm not sure in the software if it's really knowledgeable about those particular crosswalk lights, but it still handled it. Even things that it's not too, you might not think that it might not be too familiar with, it's familiar with. It's just really, really intuitive how much it learns and how much it's able to figure out a situation. You know, you watch people, which I'll probably do at some point on this channel, but you watch people take it to a cul-de-sac, face it towards the opposite way to get out, facing it towards the roundabout of the cul-de-sac, and you know, the car figures out that, oh, I need to do a 3-point turn to get out of there. And it does it flawlessly. I mean, this, as soon as version 13 came out and the car was able to reverse, it just started opening up those doors. Opening up so many doors to what it's able to do in terms of vehicle maneuvers that cause reverse to be necessary. And you look at this from a standpoint of just any situation that this vehicle is going to be put in, it's going to have like a 95% success rate of getting out of it, because it's just able to understand all that. This is just such, you know, impressive and keen software. No one else is doing this. All the people that have, or other companies I should say, that have been trying to replicate what Tesla is doing with their full self-driving software, and also just the hardware, going through the all no sensors, all camera approach, is amazing. It's just a whole different thing. You look at what happened, I think it was Chevy and GM or something like that, just at the timing of the recording of this video, about a month ago, I was reading on X that they've just set up shop. They completely canceled their autonomous kind of production that they were doing. Their autonomous, I don't know, how can you say, their kind of autonomous station of figuring out doing their own autonomous vehicle. They threw in the towel because they see where Tesla's at, and there's just nothing you could do. They're so far ahead, and they even admitted, I think they posted it and then they took it down, but they even admitted that the way Tesla's going about it is right, because through all the research of what they were doing to, you know, try to do their own autonomous vehicle, however long they were working on it, they were just like, well, Tesla's got it. There's nothing we can do. Once they come out with it, they're so far ahead. It's over. It's already over. People don't get that. You know, and the craziest thing is just, that's, from what I heard, if it's the exact number, I'm pretty shocked. But if it's the exact number I heard, Chevy, GM, whoever it was, they lost billions. Apparently, they lost $10 billion in this autonomous venture that they were trying. $10 billion they lost. At that point, I mean, is the company okay? I mean, that's a lot of money to lose over a failed project, as you can consider it to be, because that's what it is. It's a failed project trying to take over, or not even take over, compete with Tesla, because you can't. It's done at this point. Look at the Supercharger network. That's a phenomenal example. That's the biggest example I tell to everybody who, maybe they've never been in a Tesla before, or they have a lot of questions. Because trust me, if you're ever interested in using your Tesla to do Uber or do Lyft, be prepared to be for a lot of questions. You better be well versed in the car, because you will get a lot of questions. There's a lot of people who know nothing about these vehicles. They don't know at all that they can drive themselves. They have no idea what they're capable of. They don't know about the instant torque. They don't know about how much money they save, not having to pay for a lot of maintenance routinely, not having to pay for gas anymore. Unfortunately, electricity rates have gone up, but it's still cheaper than gas. But anyways, you get a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions that you get, and you got to be ready for that people just don't know. They hear all the propaganda about Tesla, and it's not anything remotely true. It's pure fake news, pure propaganda. It's all that stuff, all the above. Whatever other terms there are to describe that type of stuff. My most favorite thing that people have asked me about Teslas, and I've literally gotten this question 2 or 3 times from the thousands of Uber rides I've done. And I'm not kidding. It's been about two or three people I can recollect off the top of my head. I can remember. They literally asked me, "Is it true that Teslas stop working when you drive through a tunnel?" And this is just how bad some of the fake news is, and how bad some people are that they just believe anything that they read. Truly. I think what actually happened in that scenario is that somebody was using a very early version of autopilot. They weren't paying attention. They were going through a tunnel, and because they were using autopilot without paying attention, the car got into some kind of crash. And then the media spin that and said, okay, well, I guess, let's just say Teslas don't work in tunnels, and then that's going to get a lot of buzz and attention. It's almost sick where the media has gone at this point. Luckily, Elon's working to remedy that, day by day. Especially, the things he's done with X has been really great. But again, that's just some of the crazy things that you hear. And then, to be honest, that's the craziest thing. But then after that, I would say the next craziest thing I get, which I wouldn't really distinguish it as crazy. I would say more or less it's that my other favorite question I get, it's more, it's not their fault that they don't understand, truly. Again, you get a lot of questions. Is a lot of people will tell me that, well, if you take a road trip with this car, doesn't it take you like an extra 5 hours to take that road trip? And I'll ask them, I'll say, well, how so? Why is it that you think that, you see it that way? And they'll tell me, they're like, well, isn't it that when you go to the Supercharger, you're there for 5 hours? Or 2 hours or 3 hours? It's mainly 2 or 3 hours. Scratch that 5 hours. That's back to what I said. 2 or 3 hours. Aren't you at that Supercharger for 2 hours? I said, no, you're most of the time you're only there for 20-something minutes, 25, maybe 30 minutes tops. Oh, people just, because of the propaganda that other car companies and other media outlets have put out there, people think that you're at those Superchargers for hours, and that's really not the case. Even the Cybertruck that, on a version 3 Supercharger without the capacity of the version 4 that's starting to output at this current time, yeah, the Cybertruck might take 30-something to 45 minutes tops to get to a decent, get to your 80% charge that you typically would want. But at the same time, that's a newer vehicle. That battery is massive, and like I kind of mentioned, Tesla's already working on that. They're already working on it. For the version 4 cabinets that they can, output, I think it's 325 kilowatts. And once that happens, that'll help the Cybertruck be able to charge in 25, 30-ish minutes, and then you're done. But again, to me, it's a fair assumption for people to guess that or have that assumption about it, and I would understand that, yes, if it took you 2 hours every time you went to the Supercharger, you wouldn't be very happy taking it on a road trip, but that's not the case. You very much can be done in 20-ish minutes and even less sometimes, and be able to make it to the next charger. Sometimes it's not even about charging to 80 every single time you get there, because 80% in most Tesla vehicles is going to give you more than you need to reach the next charger. Some people, just depending on how they're working the trip, they only charge for 10 or 15 minutes. And that easily is a really good strategy, where some people just 10 to 15 minutes, even if you run it low to like 12%, will easily probably get you to 50-ish%. And a lot of people do that because 10, 15 minutes, you're done, you're at 50-something%. You can easily make it to the next charger. There's so many, it's interesting that there's strategies that you can do when you're taking a road trip. Me, I tend to play it more on the safe side, because you just never know. I'm just more of a cautious person in that, right? But again, for other people that want to join, as we claim, as the 1% club, where you drain your battery down to 1%, you know, it's, if they're comfortable with doing that, that's fine. Because what a lot of people don't understand, if you watch Out of Spec Motoring, and when they do the test where they run down the vehicle, a Tesla vehicle, until it stops running, a lot of the times every time you'll see they run the vehicle down to 0%, and it's still going. It'll still go for like another 5, 10, maybe even 15 miles. Because just like a gas tank has a reserve, fuel, so does a battery. Works almost in the same way, where there's kind of a reserve amount of the battery that it doesn't really display here, just to make sure that you don't run it down too low, because Tesla doesn't want to have to deal with so many people being stranded on the side of the road. But overall, it's, people just have some wild questions. And again, I think it's really good and it's really constructive to ask those questions, because let's be honest, for everybody, including myself at one time, electric vehicles are a whole new frontier for some people. With me, I'm pretty tech savvy in that sense, so I took to it very easily. I did a lot of research before I jumped on this bandwagon, but for a lot of people, this is a new frontier. And I think it's great that people have the questions that they do, even though some of them are outrageous. And yes, I'm repeating myself a lot of the times. I really enjoy educating people on the vehicle, on things that they might have read in the fake news that are very far from the truth. And just overall, being able to inform people. And that's kind of part of the reasons I'm making this, I've made this channel, and I started to make these videos, is that I just enjoy informing people on the car, and being able to, if I can, to help kind of open their eyes to having something that is just overall, in my opinion, better. And the fact that anybody can go buy a Tesla right now and either buy full self-driving outright, or what I think is the better way to go about it is to subscribe to the full self-driving and just pay monthly for it. And for some reason, if you don't like it, it's a subscription. You can just cancel it. Whereas, if you buy it outright with Tesla, it's $8,000. And I understand people don't really want to spend an extra $8,000 on top of it, on top of the vehicle's price. So that's completely understandable. And that's why I always kind of advise people to go for the subscription model, because you can just cancel it if for some reason you don't like it. Because even if you don't like full self-driving and you like to drive this vehicle is such a joy to drive. The instant torque, the smoothness, the handling, it's just really in a league of its own, and it's really, really great. So truly, I mean, there's just really a lot to like in more or less, whether you're into the autonomy thing, whether you're not into the autonomy thing. It's a whole new thing that I think everybody can find some enjoyment in. And so that's kind of why I, decided to make this channel. I want to bring to light a lot of things, because the more I've done Uber, the more I've realized that so many people have no idea what's coming down the pipeline with autonomy, with the electrification. Tesla's getting, working harder on that heat pump to be able to have these vehicles function better in colder climate. I've picked up people from Alaska out here visiting. Tesla's up there from time to time at an abandoned military track up there, testing these vehicles out in the snow, out in Alaska of all places, to be able to, you know, study and work it better to function in the cold. And that's a big deal. I always tell people, once these cars could really take off in a state like Minnesota, where it's really, really cold a lot of the time, you know, at that point we know that the heat pump is pretty much solved, or it's gotten to a really good point. Okay, so we arrived here at the Supercharger off of Shea and Scottsdale Road, and we're going to see what it's going to do. It's always kind of a mystery at this point. I want to see if it's actually going to pull into the parking spot correctly or continue to do what it has been doing of not doing it very well where the line's kind of in the middle of the vehicle. So it's kind of in the parking spot, but not really that great. I guess it's better than last time. Maybe after doing this a couple times, it'll park better, but technically, let me see if I just put it in drive. Oh. Okay, there we go. You could see that it parked on the line, and we have a good chunk of space here. So better than last time, because the line is not in the middle of the vehicle as if I'm taking up 2 spots, but it's kind of in there, I guess. It's fine. It technically is somewhat progress. Maybe driving here multiple times, it'll eventually kind of start to learn, because that's kind of what it does. But anyways, everybody, that's it for this video. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for staying to the end if you have gotten to this point. Always much appreciated. Once again, my referral code will be in the link in the description below. The referral code is what you can use to purchase a Tesla. If you click the link in the description, it'll take you right to the Tesla website, and you can use my referral code there, which gets you anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 off a Tesla vehicle just by using my referral code. Sometimes you'll get $1,000 off. Sometimes it could be up to $2,000 off. To my knowledge, if you buy a Cybertruck, a Model X, or a Model S, you'll get $2,000 off, because those are Tesla's more expensive vehicles. If you get a 3 or a Y, that could be anywhere from $1,000 to sometimes it can go up to $1,500 off a brand new vehicle using my referral code. So in case you are interested, feel free to head to the link in the description below this video and go ahead and click that to save yourself some money on a new car. And doing that really helps support the channel, and I appreciate it, because I get a kickback with that, and that will allow me down the line to be able to purchase other Tesla vehicles as newer things come out, to be able to make more content. So anyways, guys, that's it for today. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.